Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq. Joining us for the segment, we have Helene Braun, U.S. markets reporter at CoinDesk, to discuss what to expect from the trial of infamous crypto founder Sam Bankman-Fried. Helene, it's great to see you as always. Welcome back to Trade Talks.
Thanks for having me.
All right, let's talk about the trial here. What are some of the things that you're going to be keeping an eye on in terms of what you expect to hear? The latest news from the judge's decision to keep SBF in jail, and the most recent news about what perhaps SBF's lawyers or what tact they're going to take.
Yeah, so a lot's already been happening leading up to the trial. One thing that Sam Bankman-Fried's lawyers kept pushing for in the past couple of weeks was to release him from jail ahead of the trial, arguing that it is his constitutional right to have a fair trial, which they claim was or is not possible if he's in jail, even though he does have computer access and he's able to meet with his lawyers at least twice a week. But that wasn't enough, they said. There were a lot of back and forth on that topic, but ultimately the judge ruled that he has to remain locked up. Actually, yesterday, there was a response to this, and Sam Bankman-Fried's team now requested that he be temporarily released during the course of his trial, starting October 2nd, which is the day before the trial starts. But the judge has so far been pretty tough on his team, so we'll see how that goes. He actually set a deadline for 5 p.m. today, so we'll definitely know more later today. And another thing that's been discussed in the courtroom ahead of the trial were certain pretrial motions. So the Department of Justice, for example, wanted to block the defense from cross-examining its witnesses on privileged issues. That's been denied. And then Sam Bankman-Fried's team on the other side requested to exclude any evidence related to the bankruptcy of the exchange. That has also been denied. So there's been a lot of discussions about the details of the trial and its execution in the past few weeks.
So what can we expect in the first couple of weeks of the trial, as it relates to jury selection, timeline of the trial? Of course, will SBF actually testify or not? I think jury selection is going to be interesting. I'm curious to see how much of the population actually knows about FTX or of Sam Bankman-Fried himself. I would imagine it's somewhat split to a certain extent. Not everyone is ingrained within the crypto community, if you will.
Right. So the trial officially starts next week, next Tuesday. It'll run from Monday through Friday, except for Columbus Day. Given the scope of it, it'll probably take longer than that. There will be a final pretrial conference sometime this week where Judge Lewis Kaplan, who is overseeing this trial, will lay out the final witness schedule and the exact timeline of the trial. And then on October 3rd, there'll be the jury selection process, which could actually take a few days because both the prosecution and the defense will ask potential jurors a bunch of questions ranging from very basic information, such as if they even have time to sit in on this trial, to very specific questions, such as, have you had an account with FTX, or did you follow the collapse of the exchange? So once that's sorted out, there'll be opening statements from both parties, followed by obviously the presentation of evidence and questioning of witnesses, which is, of course, the center of every trial and, will take up several weeks. We do not know if Sam Bankman-Fried himself will testify. I'm sure we'll learn about that as the trial goes on, but that has not been released yet.
Who will be the most interesting witnesses, and what can you expect from them?
So we don't have a full list of witnesses yet, but we do know, obviously, there's going to be a few of his former colleagues that will be testifying. Arguably, the most highly anticipated one is Caroline Ellison, who is the CEO of Alameda Research, the hedge fund that was tied to FTX and through which FTX allegedly gambled with customer money. She was also romantically involved with him. So she's certainly one of the people that knows him the best and can speak to his character outside of, his role as founder and CEO of FTX. And she also already pleaded guilty to fraud charges. So she admitted to wrongdoing and, will likely expose a lot of what was going on behind the scenes at FTX and Alameda Research. So she will most certainly be the most threatening witness for Sam Bankman-Fried. And then there's others from the firm, Sam Trabucco, Gary Wang, all former employees of FTX. Some of them pleaded guilty. Others say they weren't involved in what was going on. But I'm sure all of them will have very interesting insights to share.
So, Helene, what needs to happen for SBF to be found guilty? How difficult will it be for his lawyers to make a case and to defend him? And what do prosecutors have to prove?
So the prosecutor's job is most certainly the more difficult one because they have to prove that he knowingly lied to his customers, lenders, or investors and knowingly defrauded them and or worked with at least one other person to do all of that. The defense, on the other hand, just has to convince the jury that the prosecution didn't make its case, that he broke the law and how they do that is by convincing the jury that he didn't know that he was doing anything wrong. So similar to what he's already been saying, that it was simply mismanagement. Um, and then for the conspiracy charges, which there are 5 of them against him, the Department of Justice will have to prove that at least 2 people agreed that they're going to defraud people.
All right. Appreciate the insight as always. Helene, thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.